Late Night Secrets, Billionaire's shocking encounter with a maid that haunts him forever. The clock struck midnight, and the mansion glowed like a beacon against the night sky. Shimmering windows hid secrets that made even the boldest of hearts tremble. Inside, billionaire Samuel Hartman sat alone, the silence around him heavy with unspoken tension. A recent scandal had threatened to unravel everything, but what happened next would change his life forever. It began with a simple knock. The door creaked open, revealing Lily, a maid with a strange glimmer in her eyes. They had crossed paths before, but this was different. Tonight, the air was thick with an unsettling energy. Samuel felt his chest tighten as their gazes locked. Fear and curiosity churned within him. Why now? Why here? There was something almost otherworldly about her, an aura that both intrigued and terrified him. She stepped inside, trailing a whisper of something ancient. Was it lavender or something more intoxicating, more magnetic? As she approached, the shadows wrapped around her like a cloak. Samuel's pulse quickened. It was just the two of them in this vast house, where silence stretched like a drawn bowstring. The sounds of the city faded, leaving only his heart beating loudly in his ears. What was she doing here at this hour? The satisfied smirk on her lips sent shivers down his spine. Her presence seemed to summon memories he thought he'd locked away. Just needed to finish some tidying, she said, voice smooth like velvet. But in her words lay an undercurrent, a hidden meaning that sent a chill through him. How could he feel both drawn to her and afraid? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen, snapping Samuel back to reality. He shot a glance towards the noise, the fear clenching his stomach. Lily stood as still as a statue, her expression unreadable. Was that delight or dread on her face? Questions raced through his mind. What was she hiding? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. In that moment, the atmosphere shifted. Something was brewing beneath the surface, and Samuel could feel it. He leaned forward, eyes locked on Lily's. What do you know? The question hung heavy in the air, his voice barely above a whisper. She took a step closer, and he could see the flicker of mischief in her eyes. A dangerous game was unfolding, and he had no idea how deep it ran. A siren wailed in the distance, piercing the tension that enveloped them. Samuel's pulse raced as he tried to decipher the truth behind her enigmatic smile. What darkness did she bring with her? And more importantly, what secrets lay buried, waiting to be unearthed? As the weight of the night settled in around him, he knew that this encounter was only the beginning. What if this was the start of something that could unravel everything? He breathed in, ready for what was to come, but the real question loomed: could he trust her, or would she be the one to haunt him forever? Samuel's instincts screamed at him to step back, to close the door and lock it tight. This was an invitation to chaos, yet here he was, staring into the depths of Lily's dark eyes, feeling the pull of an unseen force that both attracted and repelled him. Why do you look so nervous? Her voice cut through the air like a knife, smooth yet dangerously sharp. I'm not nervous, he shot back, but the lie fell flat between them. The crash from the kitchen echoed once more, intensifying the dread pooling in his stomach. What was that? He asked, his voice rising, somehow desperate to regain control of the situation. Lily shrugged, a nonchalant smile spreading across her face. Just instincts, I'd say. We all have things we're afraid of, Samuel. Frustration mingled with fear. Don't toy with me. What are you hiding? The smile flickered, just for a moment, replaced by something darker. Maybe I'm your best-kept secret or your worst nightmare. With that, she spun on her heel and walked towards the kitchen, her silhouette blurring into the shadows. Samuel followed her, compelled and terrified, his heart racing like a stampede. As they reached the kitchen doorway, he could see shattered glass sprawled across the floor like a starry night. A fallen vase, the remnants of a too-quick cleanup. But it was more than that. He noticed movement near the island, something glimmering in the darkness. Before he could think, he lunged forward, almost instinctively, and bent to pick up the object. What is this? It was a shard of glass, but not just any shard, etched within it was an image. A face he recognized too well, the woman who had spiraled his life into turmoil, the one linked to the scandal threatening to destroy everything he had built. Put that down, Lily commanded softly, yet her tone was a warning. She was closer now, her breath warm against his neck. You don't want to see what the other side of that reflection holds. Samuel's pulse quickened at her words, fueled by a mix of anger and curiosity. What do you know about her? More than you could ever understand, she whispered, her voice a low hum that vibrated against his skin. You're chasing ghosts, Samuel. All you'll find are skeletons. Suddenly, the soft clattering of utensils halted, and a figure shifted into view. It was James, the family's longtime chef, whose eyes widened in shock as he took in the scene. What is going on here? He demanded, frowning. Samuel straightened and blinked, the heat of being caught washing over him. Just an accident. But before he could think of a way to clarify, James crossed his arms and glanced between the two of them as if assessing the situation. His eyes narrowed. Is she trying to scare you, Hartman? Should I call security? No. Samuel interrupted, his voice rising with a panic he couldn't control. The danger was palpable, the air thick with threats both seen and unseen. Lily stepped toward James, her presence commanding the room. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Some secrets are best left buried. James looked frozen, uncertain of how to react. In that moment, darkness seeped from the corners of the room, whispering threats of revelations that could tear their lives apart. Samuel's heart slammed in his chest. Everything he had fought to protect felt like it was crumbling under the weight of this encounter. Tell me what you know, Lily, he demanded, desperation edging his voice. I need to know the truth. As she stepped closer, an unearthly light reflected in her eyes, a glimmer that promised revelations and danger in equal measure. Truth is a slippery thing, Samuel. You can hold it, but it will slip through your fingers when you least expect it. A low rumble echoed through the mansion, as if the very walls shivered with anticipation. As she spoke, fatigue clawed at him, but more than that, a powerful sense of dread. It struck him with clarity, this was about more than just him, his entire world was teetering on the brink of disaster. Lily tilted her head, a predatory smile curling her lips. But remember, when the truth hits, it hits hard suddenly, the lights flickered overhead, plunging them into darkness for a heartbeat, and in that heartbeat, everything changed. Was the truth worth chasing, or was it better left in the dark? The silence after the flicker was deafening, and with it, Samuel felt an eerie chill wash over him. In that moment, he knew, something was coming, and there were no safe places left to hide. And as he stood there, heart racing, one thought lingered at the edge of his mind: what else might be waiting to be uncovered, lurking like a shadow, just out of sight? The silence in the kitchen was suffocating, thick enough that Samuel could almost taste the fear. The flickering lights returned in a harsh burst, illuminating three tense figures caught in a web of terror and intrigue. James remained stiff, his arms crossed tightly as if trying to shield himself from something invisible, while Lily's smile had vanished, replaced by a look that could only be described as predatory. What just happened? James demanded, his voice strained and low, eyes darting nervously to the shadows that crept along the walls. Things have a way of unraveling, James, Lily replied, her tone cool and unsettling, as if she were relishing the chaos unraveling around them. Samuel swallowed hard. What did you mean when you said the truth hits hard? What kind of truth? Now you're asking the right questions, she taunted, taking a small step back as if preparing to watch the show unfold. James shifted uncomfortably beside him, a look of confusion mixed with suspicion. "Samuel, don't let her play these games with you. We can't trust her." Ignoring James, Lily stepped closer and leaned in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "You think you can contain the truth, but it spreads like wildfire once ignited. Your life," she glanced over her shoulder, "has already begun to burn." The word sent a shiver rippling through Samuel. He could almost hear the flames crackling in the distance, licking the edges of his carefully constructed world. "You're talking in riddles, Lily. Just say what you mean." Lily straightened, her composure slipping into something softer, sweeter, but her eyes stayed sharp. "Fine. You want clarity. The woman in that glass, she's not who you think she is. Your scandal is a mere shadow of what lies beneath." The air tinged with electricity, a weighty anticipation building around them. Samuel felt time slow as he absorbed her words, the implications swirling like smoke. "What are you saying? You can't just drop bombs like that and expect me to stay calm." "Then don't." Her smile returned faintly, and it felt more like a sneer. "You're after the truth, but are you ready to pay the price?" James let out a frustrated breath, stepping between them. "Enough of this. Either confront us with what you know, or get out of here. You're clearly not safe to be around." Lily paused, her lips twitching as if a thought crossed her mind. "You really want to know?" She looked at Samuel, then back at James, daring him to challenge her. "Fine. There are stories hidden behind that woman's eyes, secrets that could drown you." James scoffed. "Cut the theatrics. Show us what you mean." With a flick of her wrist, Lily gestured toward the shard of glass still cradled in Samuel's hand. "Look again. You'll find more than just a face. You'll see your own reflection start to dissolve. So much is interwoven, Samuel. Like threads. Tug on one, and everything will unravel." Samuel felt a sense of foreboding settle over him. "What is supposed to happen if I do? Will it finally lead me to the truth?" "Perhaps." She took another step back, her eyes glinting with a strange excitement. "But remember, some truths aren't meant to be uncovered." The rumble returned, louder this time, a shudder in the foundation of the mansion as if an uninvited guest was preparing to crash the quiet party. The lights flickered ominously again, and Samuel caught sight of shadows moving beyond the kitchen, the unmistakable shape of two figures approaching. Samuel's blood ran cold. "What now?" he whispered, scanning the room for a way out. Lily let out a soft laugh, the kind that sent chills creeping down his spine. "Ah, the patter of feet heralds your fate. Sometimes, the shadows reflect our deepest fears or our greatest truths." Everything lurched forward, the distance closing between them and the impending revelation that promised to engulf them all. As the kitchen door creaked ominously open, Samuel's heart raced. Were the intruders delivering salvation or chaos? And as the cold air rushed in, one thought pierced the fog of uncertainty: this was only the beginning of something far more dangerous than he could ever have anticipated. The kitchen door swung wide, revealing two shadowy figures outlined against the dim hallway beyond. Samuel's breath hitched in his throat. They moved closer, faces hidden in the gloom but exuding a palpable menace. "Who are you?" James demanded, stepping protectively in front of Samuel, fists clenched. The tension escalated, a tight wire stretched to its breaking point. The flickering lights above cast erratic shapes around the room, making shadows dance like phantoms. The first figure stepped into the light, a tall man wearing an overcoat that looked as dark as the void. His lips curled into a smirk. "Just a couple of friends here to help you find the truth or maybe drown in it," he replied. His voice was smooth, almost too smooth, laced with a mocking quality that sent ripples of unease through Samuel. "Get out." Lily's voice rang with authority, but it was laced with an undercurrent of fear. The predatory glint in her eyes dimmed, if only for an instant. "Not until we've had our fun," the second figure chimed in, revealing herself as a woman with striking features and a daring glimmer in her eye. "You're tangled up in a web, sweetheart, and we're here to show you the way out or deeper in." Lily took a step back. "You shouldn't be here. You know what I'm telling them is dangerous." "Dangerous?" The woman laughed, an unsettling sound that echoed in the thick air. "Oh, my dear, life is nothing but a collection of risks." But she leaned in closer to Samuel, an almost hypnotic allure in her presence. "Some risks can be the very key to your liberation." Samuel felt his stomach turn. What did they want? His eyes darted from James's defensive posture to Lily's obvious distress. He couldn't shake the feeling that every second spent in this kitchen was wrapping him tighter in layers of dread. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice shaky but demanding. "What's the truth you're talking about?" The tall man stepped forward, his presence suffocating. "Every family has secrets, Samuel. And yours? Yours are particularly dark." He paused, as if savoring the moment. "Like the truth about the woman in the glass." "You want the truth? Let us help you dig it out, but once it's out, Samuel, there's no turning back," Lily interjected, urgency etching her features. "They twist it to their liking. Don't trust them." The woman raised an eyebrow, amusement dancing in her eyes. "Trust? In our world, that's a currency more valuable than gold." She leaned even closer, the intoxicating scent of danger wafting from her. "You can't unsee what you're about to witness. Are you prepared?" James stepped forward, his jaw set. "What do you want? Who sent you?" "Relax, soldier," the tall man said dismissively, waving a hand. "We're not your enemies. Think of us as guides. In this game of shadows, who's really on the side of truth?" Everything inside Samuel screamed to run, to escape, but his feet felt glued to the floor. He looked over at Lily, whose face was pale, fear flickering across her features, offset by a simmering determination. She nodded slightly, urging him to consider. The tremors beneath their feet grew more pronounced, and once again, the lights flickered erratically. Time felt suspended, moments stretching and contracting as Samuel struggled with the weight of their words. "What are you suggesting?" Samuel finally said, heart racing. "Let us help you tap into the threads of your life, Samuel. Discover how deeply they are woven." "But be warned," the woman paused dramatically, her eyes locking onto his. "Some threads can choke you." Before he could respond, a loud crash erupted from somewhere deep within the mansion, and the shadows shifted again, almost seeming alive. Samuel's blood raced. What hidden truths awaited him? Were these strangers the key or the lock? With his grip tightening around the shard of glass, he faced the two figures standing before him. "I'll hear you out," he said, each word a weighty promise reverberating in the charged air. As they exchanged knowing glances, the flickering lights balled into darkness, their plans shrouded in an eerie stillness. What deepened mystery lay ahead? What truths would be unveiled and who would reign when it all unraveled? Samuel braced himself for the storm to come. The room plunged into darkness, the flickering kitchen lights snuffed out, plunging Samuel's senses into a cold blur. He felt the tension tightening in his chest as the silence thickened around him. It was suffocating, each heartbeat echoing a silent drumroll of dread. "James." Lily's whisper punctured the stillness, her voice trembling. Samuel could feel her fear radiating, and it was contagious. He could almost taste the metallic residue of anxiety swirling in the air around him. "Stay close." James barked, his voice fierce yet wavering, like a soldier trying to mask his own uncertainty. Samuel could barely make out the shapes of his friends, still positioned in a tight defensive triangle, but their resolve felt like a fragile glass wall ready to shatter. "Are you scared, little bird?" The woman's voice floated through the gloom, sultry and mocking. "You should be. Secrets have a way of gnawing at you, just like darkness gnaws at the light." The tall man chuckled softly, a low, dangerous sound. Samuel's heart thudded in his ears as he imagined their faces twisted in predatory delight, enjoying the fear they orchestrated. "What do you want?" Samuel managed to croak, defiance splintering through his terror. "You think you can scare us into submission?" "Scare? My dear boy, we're merely here to open your eyes." The tall figure's voice oozed confidence, each word dripping with insidious promise. "But the truth, oh, it can be far more terrifying than fear itself." Motion broke the stillness. Samuel felt a pressure shift in the room, the air growing charged with impending revelation. Then, suddenly, a single candle flickered to life on the nearby table, casting its meager glow across their faces. The shadows stretched and writhed, contorting the edges of the room into nightmare shapes. "Time to play a little game." The woman stepped forward, now illuminated, and Samuel's breath caught. Her piercing gaze felt like a knife drawing blood, and her smile was sultry, yet edged with cruelty. "Close your eyes, Samuel. It's time to delve into the unknown." "No. Don't listen to them," Lily pleaded, stepping back, her hands reaching towards Samuel, as if to pull him from an abyss. "Don't let them take you away." But Samuel was caught in the web of their words, a twisted spell demanding his surrender. What happens if I do?" he whispered, uncertainty trembling at the edges of his resolve. "Ah, there it is. The spirit of adventure." The tall man grinned, a sharp gleam in his eyes. "In that darkness, you'll find the truth about your family and the woman in the glass. Trust us, your awakening will echo through the halls of your heart." "Stop. You're manipulating him," James shouted, fists clenched, as if to catch the flicker of hope wavering in the air. "Maybe we are. Maybe we aren't. Isn't that the fun?" the woman quipped, dripping sweetness over venom. "What do you say, Samuel? Want to play?" In that moment, pounding footsteps echoed in the distance, disturbing the tension like an unexpected storm. Samuel's pulse quickened with adrenaline. Who else was in the mansion? Had they come to witness this insanity? "Make your choice," the tall man urged, the shadows deepening in intensity. "Follow us into the dark, or let the chaos claim you here." With every fiber of his being screaming danger, Samuel faced their predatory smiles, the room spinning with potential disaster. He could hear the footsteps growing closer, threatening to engulf everyone in madness, what lay beyond this point of no return. The air was thick, suffocating under the weight of his decision. Did he dare grasp the threads of his life, ready to unravel the web woven with secrecy, danger, and unforeseen consequences? As the door burst open, slamming against the wall, the blaring clamor of voices flooded into the room, filling it with chaos and confusion. The storm had arrived. What would emerge from it, truth or treachery? Samuel stood on the edge of choice, heart racing as he realized he had no idea what awaited him next. The door flew open, unleashing a whirlwind of light and sound. Figures burst into the kitchen, 3 police officers, their flashlights slicing through the dim. Samuel's heart sank to the frantic beats of adrenaline as the officers shouted commands, ordering everyone to step away. "Get down. Hands where we can see them." One officer yelled, his voice booming with authority. The chaos cracked through the tension like a whip, and Samuel's instincts kicked in. He raised his hands slowly, the flickering candlelight dancing shadows across the walls as panic twisted all around. "Samuel." Lily's voice broke through the noise, sharp with desperation. "What is happening?" He was torn, pulled between what felt like safety offered by the police and the sinister draw of the tall man's dark promise. The woman's gaze lingered on him, a mixture of disappointment and amusement painting her expression. "Deciding to play the hero?" She laughed, honeyed malice seeping into her voice. "How adorable." But Samuel's focus remained locked on the officers. He gestured wildly, desperation tinged with confusion. "They were going to suddenly," the tall man laughed, deep and low. "Didn't you hear, officer? We were just playing a game." His tone dripped with sarcasm, the subtext cutting deeper than any knife. Enough! Another officer shouted, his flashlight now scrutinizing the group. As the beam landed on the woman, her smile faded, replaced by a cool mask of indifference. The air crackled, thick with tension. "What is going on here?" the officer demanded. "There's," Samuel stammered, words failing him. He wanted to scream the truth, to stop whatever game they were playing. "They're not." The woman stepped forward, her voice smooth and soothing like silk, but Samuel sensed the razor edge beneath. "We found him in the mansion," she said, feigning innocence. "Just a bit lost, really. Perhaps he was making some new friends." The officer's expression hardened. "Step back," he ordered, his grip tightening on his firearm. "Don't you see?" she continued, undeterred. "This is all just a misunderstanding." Samuel felt reality closing in. He could see the flash of concern in Lily's eyes, fear clawing at her throat as she took a step back, clinging to James. "Samuel," James urged, his voice low but urgent. "You have to tell them. They're not who they say they are." They were trapped in a storm of uncertainty, shadows clashing against the roar of authority, and for a split second, every heartbeat felt like a ticking time bomb. "Enough of this," the officer said, cutting through the escalating tension. "You're coming with us." The tall man's smile twisted into something far darker. "You think they can save you?" he asked Samuel, voice dripping with menace. "You think they know the truth? You're safer in our hands." Before Samuel could respond, the atmosphere shifted violently. The air around them shimmered with danger, like the calm before a torrential storm. And then a loud crash echoed from the hallway, reverberating through the mansion. The officers turned instinctively, flashlights swinging wildly, illuminating sprawled furniture and even darker corners where shadows thrived. Samuel felt the ground shift beneath him. "Stay here," one of the officers shouted, moving toward the source of the noise, leaving the other two to keep their guns trained on the unknown foes in the kitchen. "Samuel!" Lily called again, her voice cracking. "What do we do?" For a moment, everything hung in the balance. The walls around them seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, shadows playing tricks as the air thickened with tension. Samuel's mind was racing. The tall man's words throbbed in his memory. Truth or treachery? "Don't let them take you," James shouted. In that instant, Samuel realized he had a choice to make. "Lily, James, follow me." He took a step forward, heart pounding, ready to break the illusion that had ensnared him. As he moved, the door to the hallway flew open again, and heavy footsteps flooded into the kitchen. More figures swarmed in, faces masked, eyes gleaming with intentions unknown. The storm had turned into a raging tempest. Questions spiraled through his mind. Who were these newcomers? What was their mission? And most importantly, could he trust anyone? As confusion reigned and panic licked at their heels, Samuel found himself at an unpredictable crossroads. Each decision held weight, the momentum building toward an inevitable fate, and every second ticked closer to the unknown. What did the dark reveal, and would he survive in its depths? The masked figures poured into the kitchen like a horde, their movements fluid and calculated. Samuel's breath quickened, a tight knot of panic knotting in his chest. They swarmed around the officers, encircling them like wolves closing in on prey. The once dim kitchen erupted into chaos, disjointed sounds filling the air, the clash of footsteps, the shouts of officers, the ominous laughter of the woman with the cold smile. "Get back!" one officer shouted, the barrel of his weapon trained on the nearest intruder. The tension was palpable. Samuel's instincts screamed at him to move, to run, but his body felt frozen. "Samuel, now!" Lily's voice broke through the din, urging him toward the side door. In a split second, he darted toward her, heart thudding in his ears, while James followed closely behind. They slipped past the silhouettes that blocked the exit, the chaos surging and swirling like an angry sea. Samuel glanced back just in time to see one of the officers push against the tide of intruders, grim determination etched on his face. Then it happened. A gun fired. Not a warning shot, but a clear intention. The sound ricocheted off the walls, echoing through the kitchen, a deadly exclamation that sent tremors through Samuel's body. "Go! Go!" James grunted, grabbing Samuel's arm, pulling him through the door just as screams erupted behind them. The scent of burnt wood and stale air filled Samuel's nostrils as they entered a narrow hallway lined with darkened paintings of impossible scenes. The world outside the kitchen felt surreal, dim and shadowy. Their footsteps echoed in the silence, a jumble of breaths and lingering dread. Eyes darting to catch sight of any pursuers, Samuel dared to hope for safety. But hope slipped through his fingers like sand. "Where do we go?" Lily asked, panic threading her voice. Behind them, rumbles of chaos continued, the muffled sounds of struggle still looming ominously. "Stay quiet," Samuel hissed, trying to suppress the rising fear within himself. He peered around the corner, the long corridor ahead leading deeper into the mansion. "We have to find a way out." As they crept through the hallway, the weight of the mansion felt heavy around them, shadows looming larger with every step. Samuel's heart raced not only from fear, but from the overwhelming sense that they were being watched. The very walls felt like they held secrets, every creak echoing like a whispered warning. The trio rounded another corner, stumbling upon a door marked with peeling paint and rusted hinges. It looked like it hadn't been opened in years. "What if they're out there?" James urged, looking back toward the way they'd come. "We have no other choice." Samuel stepped forward, adrenaline coursing through him. He grasped the knob, twisting it. The door creaked loudly, sending a jolt of anxiety through the group. Beyond lay a hidden room, thick with dust and forgotten remnants. An old chandelier hung precariously, its crystals sparkling faintly in the gloom. Samuel's eyes scanned the space, searching for anything that could help. "Look!" Lily pointed to a small window at the far end. "We can climb out." But just as they approached, the thundering of heavy boots echoed from the hallway behind them. The sound grew louder, a relentless march that sent chills down Samuel's spine. There was no time. "Go!" he shouted, shoving Lily toward the window. James followed closely behind, their breaths frantic. As Lily clambered up, Samuel felt the room constrict around him, shadows closing in like a sinister embrace. Suddenly, the door crashed open. The tall man with the sinister smile stood there, flanked by masked figures. "You really think you can escape?" he taunted, voice deep and slithering through the air like smoke. As panic exploded within him, Samuel's fingers grasped Lily's hand, desperation flaring. "Jump!" he yelled, urging her to go, but the room dissolved into chaos, reality spinning like a storm. Would this be their last stand? Or could fate still twist to their favor? As the tall man lunged forward, Samuel's grip tightened. Without a plan, and with darkness bearing down, they leapt into the unknown. They fell, plummeting into a void filled with murky air and the smell of old wood. Samuel's chest tightened as he braced for impact, and his thoughts raced. Had they made the right choice, or had it sealed their fates? The ground was damp and squishy, breaking their fall, but the moment they hit, a sharp pain shot through Samuel's ankle. He grunted, the world around him spinning for a moment before he shook it off and struggled to his feet. "Lily? James?" Panic bubbled as he tried to catch his breath and focus on his friends. "Right here." James's voice was strained, but clear, cutting through the darkness. The faint moonlight filtered through a grimy window, revealing the musty room they had landed in. It was a cellar, lined with dusty shelves filled with bottles of forgotten spirits and cobwebs that danced in the moonlit beams. "Are you okay?" Lily asked, her voice wavering as she ran to help Samuel, who was leaning against a shelf, wincing in pain. "I'm fine. Just twisted my ankle," he breathed out, shaking his head to clear the fog of fear. "We need to hide." Footsteps echoed above them, heavy and menacing. They had to move fast. Samuel guided Lily and James to an alcove in the shadows, their hearts racing as the footsteps grew closer. Clenching his fists, Samuel fought to quiet his trembling hands. "Did you hear that?" A voice boomed from above, the tall man's voice mixed with an echo of authority that crackled in the air. "Yes, sir." "They fell into the cellars." Another voice echoed back, giving Samuel a sense of dread as he clenched his jaw. They knew this place, the very core of the mansion. "Split up. They can't be far. Search every inch." Samuel's heart raced as he pressed himself closer to the wall, barely able to breathe. Desperation crawled over him. This was not just a game anymore. They were hunted, and the stakes were life and death. After what felt like an eternity, the sound of footsteps faded. The trio exchanged quick glances, half desperate, half relieved. "We can't stay here," Samuel whispered, his voice almost lost in the silence. "We have to find another way out." James nodded, biting his lip. "Let us stick together. We can't afford to get separated. That man he's not playing around." They stepped out from their hiding spot, the musty air cloaking them like a blanket. The cellar seemed endless, branching out into dark corners. Samuel felt a creeping chill, the oppressive darkness wrapping around them. "Over there." Lily gasped, pointing toward a narrow staircase carved into the masonry at the far side of the cellar. A sliver of light flickered at the top. It could lead outside. "Let us go," Samuel urged, motioning for them to follow. He moved cautiously, each step feeling heavier than the last, as anxiety twisted in his stomach. As they approached the staircase, a rattling noise echoed above them, a door swinging open. The unmistakable sound of feet returning sent a fresh surge of dread coursing through Samuel. "Hurry!" he breathed, picking up his pace despite the throbbing pain in his ankle. They reached the bottom of the staircase just as the cellar door creaked open. Faces of the masked figures flooded the entryway, glinting menacingly in the dim light. "Found you!" a voice called out, sharp with delight. It was the woman with the cold smile. Samuel pushed Lily and James toward the creaking stairs, shoving them ahead of him. "Go! Now!" They raced up the stairs, but as Samuel turned to follow, he collided with a solid wall only to find himself face to face with the tall man again, looming like a dark cloud. "You think you can escape so easily?" he hissed, eyes glinting with twisted excitement. Before Samuel could react, the man lunged. Time slowed, and adrenaline roared in Samuel's ears as the world descended into chaos once more. Could they reach the other side in time? Would they discover freedom, or would they be swallowed by the darkness? What awaited them at the top of those stairs? A way out, or a deadly trap? The tall man's arm shot toward Samuel, but the moment stretched as adrenaline coursed through him. Samuel ducked to the side just as the man lunged, feeling the wind of his movement brush past him. It ignited a primal urge to survive. "Go!" he shouted again, pushing James and Lily, who were frozen in horror, forward. They burst into the narrow staircase, urgency fueling their climb. Each step creaked ominously underfoot, rattling Samuel's already frayed nerves. Lily glanced back, her pale face illuminated by the flickering light above. "What if he—" "Don't look back!" Samuel barked, pumping his legs faster. They had to reach the exit. He could hear the tall man's heavy boots pounding behind them, each thud echoing like distant thunder. The sliver of light at the top grew wider, promising freedom. They climbed, breathless and desperate, until Samuel reached for the door handle, cold and worn. But as he twisted it, it barely budged. "Not locked, come on," James urged, pushing against the door. The tall man's voice rang out behind them, mocking and deadly. "You can't run forever." Fear twisted in Samuel's stomach. "Hurry up." He placed his shoulder against the door, pressing hard. It creaked, resisted, and finally gave way, flinging open with a squeal that echoed through the hollow estate. As they tumbled into the room beyond, Samuel turned, his heart dropping. The figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, dark and imposing. The cold smile of the woman appeared beside him, her laughter slithering through the air like smoke. Going somewhere? Run! Samuel shouted, adrenaline propelling him forward. They rushed into the vast space of the mansion's ballroom, its high ceiling looming above like a prison. Shadows danced ominously across the ornate decor, a stark contrast to the chilling laughter of the masked figures trailing behind them. Where do we go? Lily gasped, sweat glistening on her forehead. There. Samuel pointed to a set of grand double doors at the opposite end of the room. The exit. But he had no idea what lay beyond. With every ounce of strength, they charged towards the doors, but Samuel's ankle throbbed viciously, sending pain lancing through his leg. He stumbled, catching himself on a nearby marble pillar to steady his balance. Samuel! James shouted, turning back, but panic clouded unsaid thoughts in his eyes. We can't stop. Just go. Samuel gritted his teeth. The glinting eyes of the figures were closing in, determination fueling their steps. James hesitated for a heartbeat longer, and that was it. Samuel pushed off the pillar, forcing himself to stumble onward. He couldn't let his friends down. Not now. They reached the double doors, barreling through just as a terrifying chorus of laughter echoed behind them. Samuel gripped the handle, shoulder-checking it open. They hurled themselves into the long corridor that stretched ahead like an abyss, dimly lit and lined with portraits that seemed to watch them move, but something in the air shifted as they sprinted forward. A cold draft whispered past, bringing not just coolness but a sense of foreboding. The portraits flickered in and out of focus, their eyes seeming to glimmer with malice. What is happening? Lily gasped, her voice tinged with ego-flaying horror. I don't know. Just keep going. Samuel urged, sensing the urgency pressing down upon them, but dread started creeping through him like they were being led somewhere they did not want to go. As they raced deeper into the corridor, feeling the cold air envelop them, a loud crash echoed from behind them, the sound vibrating through the walls. The sound, a heavy door slamming shut, shook Samuel's resolve. What was that? James panted, glancing back, panic pulling at his face. I can't tell. But whatever it is, Samuel swallowed hard. He didn't want to think it. He pressed forward, gripping the edge of desperation, but as they turned a corner, a chilling shriek rang out, piercing through the darkness. Before they could even process it, the faint flicker of the lights above them gave out all at once and they were plunged into an all-consuming black. Samuel! Lily screamed, the sound fractured, echoing down the corridor before being swallowed by the darkness. In the pitch black, everything froze, the world fading into an abyss of uncertainty. Samuel's heart pounded wildly in his ears. This wasn't just a game anymore, this was survival. But as the shadows thickened and pulled at their heels, one thought burned in his mind: what emerging terror lay in the depths of this endless darkness? Was there still hope for escape, or had they stepped into something far worse than what they had ever imagined? The darkness clung to them like a heavy fog, each breath thickening with dread as Samuel stumbled forward, fighting against his fears. He could hear Lily's shaky breaths and James's hurried whispers, the very essence of their lives hanging by a thread. Stay close. Samuel called into the void. Panic surged through him as he reached blindly for his friends. The pitch blackness was absolute, he couldn't see his hand in front of his face. We can't stop, James murmured. We need to find a light or a way out. Samuel nodded, though he sensed the pounding of footsteps sounded louder now, echoing in the dark. A chill ran down his spine. We have to trust our instincts. Suddenly, a dim light flickered to life a few feet ahead, revealing a narrow passageway branching off the corridor. A rush of hope washed over Samuel. There. Let us go that way. They rushed toward the flickering beam. Every shadow felt alive, every sound a potential threat, but they pressed onward, hearts pounding wildly against their chests. As they neared the light, the faint outlines of old crates and barrels came into view. They could hide there. Quick! Lily whispered urgently, ducking behind a stack of crates, pulling Samuel and James in after her. They waited, holding their breath, the pounding footsteps drawing closer, stopping mere feet from their hiding place. Through the gaps in the crates, Samuel saw the tall man's silhouette looming, frustration radiating off him. They went this way. Split up. The shadowy figure commanded his followers, their whispers slithering through the air like snakes, casting an even deeper sense of dread within Samuel's heart that he exchanged terrified glances with Lily and James. "We can't stay here, they'll find us." As the thumping faded into the distance, Samuel's thoughts raced. "We need to get to the main entrance. If we can just make it outside, but what if they're waiting for us?" James interjected, eyes wide. "It doesn't matter. It's our only shot." Samuel said, a fierce determination rising within him. They crept forward, edging out from their hiding spot. Light spilled toward them from the end of the corridor. They barreled ahead, heartbeats synchronized to the tempo of their fear. But as they turned the corner, a deep roar echoed from the hallway. One of the figures had spotted them. Samuel's instincts kicked in, and adrenaline propelled him forward. "Run! Now!" They sprinted toward the light, the sound of footsteps closing in behind them, trepidation echoing like a drum in their ears. Bursting through the door leading to the main hall, they were met with eerie silence in the expanse of the grand foyer. The walls, lined with foreboding portraits, seemed to guide them toward the front door, but then, a crash. One of the masked figures had caught up. "Stop!" A male voice called, a crisp command that echoed menacingly, reverberating through the lofty room. Samuel whirled to face them, eyes wild with desperation. "We can't let them take us. Over here!" James shouted, sprinting towards a nearby window. The velvet curtain swayed ominously, their only escape. Glass crunched beneath their feet as they pushed through the window's frame, sending splinters flying. They plunged onto the manicured lawn outside, gasping for breath as the cool night air engulfed them. "Run!" Lily urged, driving them forward across the grass, heart pounding, lungs burning as they sprinted through the dark toward the looming shadows of the trees lining the property. Behind them, the scream of the tall man shattered the night. "You can't run forever. We will find you." Fear coursed through Samuel's veins as they dashed deeper into the forest. "We have to keep moving." A surge of panic gripped him as they veered off the path, branches snapping underfoot, cloaked in shadows shifting violently around them, but they didn't look back. The only thing that mattered was escaping the nightmare that had entangled them. Minutes later, the moonlight broke through the canopy, and Samuel stumbled into a clearing, slowing to catch his breath. They were exhausted, each gasp stung like fire. They dropped to the ground, hearts racing and sides aching. "What now?" James whispered, looking around for any sign of danger. "We can't go back," Samuel said, shaking his head. "We need to keep moving and find help." They won't stop. Just then, a siren wailed in the distance, slicing through the night like a beacon of hope. "Look!" Lily cried, pointing toward the glowing red and blue lights weaving through the trees. Hope surged as they scrambled back to their feet. "This way!" Samuel urged, leading them toward the sound of sirens. The shadows of the trees paled against the urgency of escape. As they burst through the edge of the woods, they stumbled onto the road, where police cars lit up the night, illuminating the figures of officers rushing toward them. "Over here!" One of the officers shouted, their caution transforming to concern as they rushed forward. "Please! We need help!" Samuel called, relief flooding through him. The officers quickly enveloped them, ushering them towards safety. They could feel the tension ebb, the fear bleeding from their tired bodies. But as they turned back to the dark woods, Samuel's heart froze. The tall man was there, watching from the shadows, the cold smile still etched across his face. The truth had hit hard, and Samuel knew with chilling clarity that the web of darkness wouldn't easily let go. But for now, they had escaped. "Let us go," Lily urged, pulling him back toward the police vehicle, the warmth of safety cocooning them. As they climbed into the car, Samuel's resolve hardened. This wasn't over. They would fight. They would uncover the truth. As the car drove away from the mansion, away from the shadows, Samuel locked eyes with Lily and James, knowing that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, and in that moment, a whisper of hope flickered in their hearts, the beginning of their fight for the truth, the end of their nightmares and the start of their reclamation of everything they had lost. But the lingering nightmare of what remained unseen would haunt them as long as they were willing to unveil the twisted secrets hidden in the darkness. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that unravel the chilling webs of intrigue. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the thrilling conclusion you just witnessed. Don't wait even one more second to share this story with at least 5 friends who need to see this epic conclusion. Your support matters. Only true fans understand the urgency.